Okay, so WrestleMania's done. I got to watch it on an iPad because I'm here in Manhattan, Kansas, over the network, and it was bizarre. I don't know if it was the hotel's network, if it was the WWE network, or if it's the fact that I had to use my crappy work iPad. Crappy because it's an iPad. But it would occasionally jump back like an hour. Sometimes it got really kind of scuzzy to look at, and other times the audio didn't match the video. So they made a change in the pre-show to turn the Fatal 4-Way match into a 4-way elimination match for the tag belts. So first and then was Los Matadores, then Right Axel, then the Real Americans Uso. Beautiful match, great back and forth. With the Usos hitting like a double super kick into a double splash. And then Cesaro and Swagger kind of broke up. So out of the main show, Hogan comes down, then Austin comes down, then The Rock comes down. And then 40 minutes into it, we have our first match. It was awesome to see Hogan, Rock, and Austin in the ring. But as the night wore on, you could tell that those two guys probably could use a little bit less time. They could put more time into one of the matches. So Triple H and Daniel Bryan, great match. That was easily the match of the night. Easily the match of the night. Great technical match, good back and forth. These two guys worked well against each other. Worked well. With Daniel Bryan getting a clean victory in the center of the ring. And then a post-match beatdown by Triple H. Vicious beatdown. So Daniel Bryan had a vicious match, and then a vicious beatdown post-match. Then we go into the Shield versus the New Age Outlaws and Kane. This match, I think, took all of like 5 minutes. New Age Outlaws were in the middle of their promo going down at the ring when the Shield came down. And they flat out demolished them. And a match that had this much build-up. I really can't recall who had tags. The match ended with the Shield doing a triple powerbomb on Road Dogg and Billy Gunn for the pinfall. I mean, they flat out steamrolled. This match was, I think Daniel Bryan and H had like 20 minutes, give or take, and the Shield versus Kane and New Age Outlaws had like 5. Just really quick. Then a sequence in the back talking about some of the new action figures they've got for kind of like the WWE version of Legos, where Hacksaw Jim Duggan was taking on Sergeant Slaughter, then the Dragon showed up, Ricky Steamboat. But then the $1 Million Man bought it all. And it seemed like that was just their way for killing time to get 30 people in the ring for the Battle Royal. I'll talk about the last 4, which was Del Rio, Cesaro, Sheamus, Show. Del Rio and Sheamus eliminated each other, so it was down to Show and Cesaro. Cesaro picked up Show. And I mean picked up, he muscled him up, was able to get a couple of steps, then Show grabbed down the top rope to help him out. He then deposited Show over the top rope to win that match. That was a ridiculous spot to see. That was easily the spot of the night. I actually make a little note because, watching like 5 hours of wrestling, watching 5 hours of WrestleMania, maybe like 2 hours of wrestling. So now you get into the Bray Wyatt Cena match. Bray Wyatt actually had his son played live. Well, I said it was Mark Crozer and the Krells and something like that. It's Broken Out in Love. You can look it up. It's a great song, and it was unique to see it actually played live. You can tell their sound check was kind of off because you couldn't really hear the initial bass line. And then Cena came out. Now this match had some great psychology. Bray Wyatt pretty much controlled the crowd. When he was singing The Whole World in His Hands, doing this, swaying back and forth, and you see the crowd doing it, beautiful. The moments where it seemed like John Cena was going to actually mentally lose it, fantastic. So this match even had a really slow pace. It was a very psychological match. Except for the moments when John Cena became just like vanilla John Cena. When you go from moments where he was like agonizing, you're like, the moment where he was early on, he's beating the daylights out of him, he's punching him, he's kicking him. It's this really violent level of John Cena. I was like, if that's the Cena that wins, this match is perfect. And then all of a sudden, John Cena's spots are off, and he just stops. Looks right, like dead into the camera, breaking the fourth wall. Big dopey grin on his face like Fruity Pebbles. And then would proceed to pretty much hit all of his major spots. Took out Rowan, took out Harper, reversed a second Sister Abigail into an AA, and then beat Bray Wyatt. So this match has some great moments when it seemed like maybe John Cena would have done something really vicious and would have done that to defeat him. Would have been great. You know, he would have compromised his character, still won the match, would have been perfect. Or if he were to refuse to have compromised his character and then lost the match, that's an even better scenario. Bray Wyatt can say, I physically beat you, John Cena. John Cena can say, I didn't compromise my morality. And instead, John Cena overcame his own inner demons as well as the outer demon by Bray Wyatt. Seemed like a pretty big waste and a great way to kind of like drag the night down. And then we get into Brock Lesnar, Undertaker. I'll say this again. Taker should have ended at 20. The match he had against Triple H with Shawn Michaels as a special guest referee in a Hell in a Cell should have been his last match. So this match with Brock Lesnar was a slow match. It was a very methodical match. It was two big guys whooping the daylights out of each other. It worked well. You could tell Taker he's just gassed. He just cannot do it. He didn't come out a super strider. Instead, he came out kind of like a roadie from hell. Hit choke slams, 2 Hell's Gates, hit a really poor last ride, more like a powerbomb because he didn't get any extension at all, at least from the camera angle. Hit him with a tombstone that they had to change camera angles because you could tell that the way Lesnar is proportioned, he couldn't get him in a good spot to make it look perfect for camera side. He kicked out of 1 F5, 2 F5s, and that third F5 he did not kick out of. So Brock Lesnar defeated the streak. What made that match was the way Undertaker looked, the way Paul Heyman looked, and when it was done, the way the fans looked. So the fans were riding pretty high from, Daniel Bryan winning, the Shield just demolishing, Cesaro hitting this fantastic moment, and then John Cena won because that's what he does. Kind of really seemed to start taking some of the starch out of the sails with the fans. And then have Brock Lesnar pretty much out of nowhere beat Taker in a very slow match. If this is Taker's last match, then he might as well have lost to Punk last year. Or like I said before, he should have ended it at 20. He's a great special attraction match, but put him in a tag match. Because this match was just not good. The ending worked only because of the overall emotional weight that it has from, Brock Lesnar defeating the streak. Okay, the 14 Diva Battle Royal. Man, the first half of this match was almost unwatchable. There's so much random crap going on. It's horrible. Once it got down to like a manageable group of divas, it worked pretty well. Seeing Nikki and Brie pretty much double team Tamina, and then do stereo dives to knock out the rest of the divas. And then that moment where they kind of attacked each other for a couple of seconds. Of course, the end of it, the end came down to AJ was in the ring, got Naomi and the Black Widow. Naomi tapped out, AJ was still your champion. Chaotic match. It felt like they just wanted to get all the divas in the ring. Ava Marie pushed Tamina down, then blew her a kiss, and then ran outside the ring. Just way too much random crap. They probably should have just picked like 6 divas, made like a 6-pack challenge, and had a much more coherent match instead of trying to do 14 divas with most of them really not doing anything. So now we get to our main event, the triple threat match. I've already said Daniel Bryan already had a vicious match, post-match beatdown. Triple H and something to come down midway through the match with a crooked ref. So we had vicious match, post-match beatdown, outside interference, crooked ref. They do an RKO Batista bomb through a table. out of Daniel Bryan. They put Daniel Bryan on a stretcher. He comes off the stretcher. He eats a spear like to the head from Batista, and then he gets Batista to tap out. Notice how I put up 7 different things that did Daniel Bryan try to screw him in this match, when logically, you know what? Those 2, the first match and the post-match beatdown, and then they could have easily done the RKO Batista bomb through the table spot, and then you could have come back to win, and that would have been perfect. For the life of me, I don't know why. It's every single heel is a coward. Every single face is a Superman. You know, cutting down the majority of those things they tried to do to screw Daniel Bryan to a more manageable size would have been fine. I mean, they did kind of overkill with that. It's great to see him as champion, but they really, really did overkill that. That's that moment. You know, to the point it's like, okay, so now Daniel Bryan is essentially what, unbeatable because he's Superman. Cena's Superman. Almost nobody ever seems to beat Sheamus. Cesaro's a Swiss Superman. They had some great moments leading up, and all of a sudden, the second half just kind of, and then they really, really did overkill with Daniel Bryan towards the end.